Brian, my dude, are you ready?
Ready.
All right. So we'll start it in 5, 4, 3, 2. Hey, everybody. Let's start that again because I slurred. 5, 4, 3, 2. Hola, bienvenidos a Hablar con Libertad. Welcome to Speak Freely, everybody. Welcome to our very exciting start of October. What are we calling it officially now? I'm calling it October Madness because it seems fitting for what we're doing.
Oh, you didn't want to go with Filmtober?
Filmtober?
Filmtober movie bracket.
Filmtober movie bracket madness. We'll come up with a clever title later, but this is exciting. So essentially all month of October, we're getting a bunch of guests and we're making movie brackets based on either genre or directors or a set of films. And in today's case, we're doing Tarantino films, and we have quite the bracket. I hope all of you are able to find the bracket and play along with us. Make sure you fill that bracket out, and we're going to see at the end of our episode who was closest. And you guys at home, make sure and see who was closest against you guys and fight each other. And if someone has a wrong opinion, just murder's okay in some states, I think, right? Just kidding. Don't do that. That's terrible. That's a terrible idea. Maybe. I like how
don't do it.
Completely quiet. but today we have an exciting guest. Oh my God, where do you begin with this person? Besides the fact that she's probably the loveliest human being I've ever met. So off the bat, she is co-host of a wonderful podcast. She has her own podcast called Machine Mondays that I personally listen to every Monday, and I wrote the theme for that too. So she's also, in my opinion, one of the best singers I personally know, legitimately, and that's not like legit. She's really good. If you ever go on her Twitch and see her when she does Twitch things, guys, she's blows your mind, dude. And of course, she is a massive competitor in the movie trivia schmodown. Ladies and gentlemen, we have none other than Jeannine The Machine. Jeannine, how are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to break down this bracket here.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. And I apologize if after this you hate either me or Brian. But
I could never.
So I hope everyone has their brackets out. We won't show our brackets till the end of it, but we're basically going to argue about which movies should move on. I hope it gets heated. I'm looking for some drama, some tea, and just personal things. So here we go. We're going to put the bracket on the screen just in case you don't have it. And there we go, ladies and gentlemen. We have our Tarantino films. Now, before we begin, the way we set this up is it had to be movies directed and screenplay by Tarantino. And then we ranked them based on their MetaCritic scores. And then we did, usual seeding. So in our first roundup, we have Pulp Fiction against the In Play of Hateful Eight or Jackie Brown. And second round, we have Kill Bill Volume 2 against Inglourious Bastards. Third round is Django Unchained versus Reservoir Dogs. And our final round, Kill Bill Volume 1 versus Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Oh boy, here we go. Let's not diddly daddle, whatever they say in the South. Let's just jump into it. Hateful Eight versus Jackie Brown. And I'm going to let Jeannine start it off as to which one should advance.
Okay. Well, I feel like...
Can I actually ask a quick question first?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, just so, our audience can get a little bit of an introduction to who Jeannine is, what is your history with Tarantino films?
This is why he's my co-host. See,
okay.
I didn't think of it.
The first movie of his I ever saw was Pulp Fiction, and I just thought it was so smart in the way it, did not tell like a linear story. It bounced around, but it still made perfect sense. I love that he makes dialogue interesting. Like, people could just be talking for whole scenes and you're still really into everything that's happening. And I think that is so smart, and it takes a really smart writer and creator to do something like that. So definitely a huge fan of his work. Just how smart he is with dialogue and storytelling. And a lot of his stories are about revenge. And I love when people get their comeuppance. It's so good. So definitely a huge Tarantino fan.
Awesome.
Brian, should we say it was our first Tarantino films as well?
Might as well.
Might as well.
What was your first film?
Oh, right. People want to know our opinion too, right? Except mine. I just make music. Who cares about mine? But Brian, what was like your first introduction to Tarantino?
I think my first film was Kill Bill Volume 1. I remember wanting to watch it specifically for Lucy Liu because I was in love with Lucy Liu at the time. Oh, and I was so upset at the end of that film. I mean, spoilers, right? I guess. I mean, you would be watching this. The spoilers. Lucy Liu dies, and I was super upset.
I mean,
Yeah.
She kind of deserved it, though.
I was just saying she had it coming, man.
No, I mean, years later, I can appreciate the story for what it was, but little teenage boy in love with Lucy Liu.
Yeah, I get it. Love
different.
You overlooked her flaws. I think my first film was Kill Bill Volume 1 too, and that's only because of like a friend told me like, bro, you gotta see this film. It's so violent. And then I watched it and I was like, yeah, it's wicked violent, bro. Let's watch it again. That's literally harder for me. But yeah, I think Kill Bill Volume 1 was my first film too. And then eventually, of course, like going on, like echoing Jeannine's thoughts is like, I went back and watched Reservoir Dogs, and then loved it for the dialogue, that opening cafe scene. I was like, oh, this is what movies can be. And at the time too, I was already like a Kevin Smith fan, so like Kevin Smith and Quentin Tarantino kind of have that same kind of
where the dialogue is so interesting. You just kind of like there with them, like you're in the backseat of the car, just listening to this cool conversation about nothing.
Yeah, it's so cool, and just the way Tarantino adds like little spots of like a really intense action all of a sudden in between his dialogue sometimes too, where it just becomes insanely violent and you're freaking out. You're like, what the heck's going on? And it's just back to like people talking and chilling, just like, what? And Reservoir Dogs is that. It's just like, that movie's so good too. Yeah. But all right. Enough chitter chatter. Enough friendly. It's time to get serious. It's time to become bitter enemy. First round. Hateful Eight versus Jackie Brown. And now we'll let Jeannine.
Okay. So I feel like these movies are on either end of the Tarantino spectrum. Like Jackie Brown is the most simple story and most simplistic, and Hateful Eight is just like fucking crazy. So I think I preferred the simplicity of Jackie Brown, and also kind of being a fan of Pam Grier's, blaxploitation. It was great kind of seeing her come back and having this kind of homage to her blaxploitation characters. So I went with Jackie Brown. Hateful Eight just had a lot going on, like, which I liked it, but it was just like so many layers and so many people getting killed and balls getting shot off, and it was just a lot.
Yes, and that's the best part is people that's literally being shot off on stage. I mean, cat's out of the bag. I went with Hateful Eight. I love that. I love that it's a stage play, but it's a film. I love the simplicity of the setting. Yeah. The storyline is very complicated because it's like a whodunit type of like.
Yeah.
It's like Clue almost, and like, but I love the juxtaposition of like it's a Western, but it's in the snow and the cabin in the middle of the forest, and it's like you have this like bounty hunters and they're law enforcers, but then you have like these bad guys, and it's like, and the thing I loved about the bad guys too, for me, is how diverse the bad guys were. Like you had a Mexican, you had like an Englishman, it was just the dialogue, and Kurt Russell's so cool in it, and the cameo of Channing Tatum, and then his face being blown off, and just everything about it to me was like quintessential Tarantino, and it had all of this Tarantino I don't know, characteristics in that film, and it's just every film he makes after that to me just feels like Tarantino more heightened. So for me, I had to go with Hateful Eight, and thank God I said that, because now it's up to Brian to break the tie. Good luck, buddy. Who do you like the most?
Okay, so David and I have had conversations about Tarantino like forever, and so David knows how much I love The Hateful Eight. Right, the fact that it is a stage play, it's basically in one setting.
Oh no.
but there's just so much tension built in this story. Like I've probably seen this one the most out of all Tarantino films. But I recently watched Jackie Brown for the first time, and it is
Chill.
it is so good. Like it is. So it's based off of a book. I didn't know that before doing some research. It's based off a book. So Tarantino didn't necessarily come up with the story, but he did write the screenplay. He changed it a little bit, right? Added his own flair, his dialogue, and that's what makes it so great because it's Tarantino being Tarantino without having to be Tarantino, if that makes any sense, right?
Yes.
And it kind of shows exactly what kind of filmmaker he can be as a director, right? Because all his other films are about him making up like his own stories and like what he wants to say. But for him to take something that wasn't his and then make it kind of his, and then all the homage, like he has, I forget the actor's name. He's Max Cherry, the old 70s star.
Mark Forrester?
Yes.
That's him?
Yeah, bringing him in and kind of showcasing like what this actor can do. And Pam Grier is really great in it. There's just one specific scene in Jackie Brown that I really, really love. And when Max Cherry comes out of a movie theater, right, and you hear the end credits song, right, from Jackie Brown, and it's kind of this idea of like, well, Max Cherry's already seen this film, and yet he goes through the motions and kind of lets it play out, and it's sort of like him having control of the situation, but also allowing like the characters to be their own, and it's kind of this idea of like what like I guess an omniscient being can be, right? It's not all good, it's not all bad, but it's more of just like letting people be who they are.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the main theme I took from Jackie Brown. That's why I had to pick Jackie Brown over Hateful Eight.
I get it. I get
And
it.
I will say, like, the ending of Jackie Brown is a little lackluster. Like, there's kind of this build, and like you expect the ending to be more like climactic, and then it just kind of ends very cleanly, a little too cleanly for Tarantino. But I think the majority of the film works for me. So,
Brian, we're no longer free.
All right, so round one is set up.
Our in play is
Pulp
set up.
Fiction.
Jackie Brown advances. Put it on screen. All right. Oh God. Do you guys want to start off with that first one then, or you want to go?
No, let's start
No.
at the bottom.
Let's start at the bottom. I was feeling that too. Kill Bill Volume 1 and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And this time, because Brian betrayed me, he can go. He can go this time.
Oh, did I mess up your bracket already?
Yeah. Shut up.
So I talked about Kill Bill Volume 1 a little bit and how disappointing it was the first time I watched it. But having re-seen it, you know, after being older, kind of getting over my crush, it's a great film. It's a fun film. The action sequences in Kill Bill, it's like none other, right? Just the fight with the crazy 88, all the colors he uses in his settings. To me, it's a really great film. I really like it. That being said, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood it's a product of Tarantino's growth as a filmmaker. You know, it's his latest film, but it encompasses everything he's learned throughout his career. It has all the hallmarks you want. You know, it has the homages, it has the great dialogue, it has great actors, and a really fun story. And it also kind of has like this changing history idea that Tarantino likes to play with. So for this one, I went with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Brilliant. Jeannine, what did you choose for Kill Bill versus Hollywood? And Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
I did really enjoy Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I do like the revisionist history thing he does. I liked getting a window into that time period because, you know, different time periods like that are not that far off are things that we kind of know in the back of our minds, but we can never experience. So I like when a filmmaker can like give us an insight into those time periods like that. So I really like that. I love chill Brad Pitt. That's like always my favorite Brad Pitt in a movie. He's just like super chill, always snacking on something, just very casual. So it was good seeing, because I feel like I hadn't seen him like in a long time for some reason.
Right? Yeah.
So it was kind of great seeing him again, and I loved his chemistry with Leo. And I liked the story it told of, you know, Leo just feeling really down on himself and, you know, feeling washed up, and him trying to kind of get, you know, his, you know, those vibes back of being, you know, a star actor. So I liked that whole kind of side story, and then these like real life things kind of happening in the background. And of course, crazy comeuppance at the end, just like so good. But like Kill Bill is the ultimate comeuppance story. And I liked, it was very artistic. I liked, you know, like you said, the colors. I liked the switch, you know, from black and white back to color. I loved all the characters, the use of music. Just really well told, funny, you know, great violent action. I think it had everything. And you kind of bounce through different genres of film as well. Like you got that whole anime sequence in there. You got kind of an old like kung fu film in there. So there was an homage to so many great genres in one movie, and it all somehow worked. So I think just for the art of it, I have to go with Kill Bill Volume 1.
Great.
All right, so David, the tiebreaker.
Oh gosh, whose heart am I about to break? Okay. So I did mention Kill Bill was like the first film I ever watched of Tarantino's, so it holds that special place in my heart of like, this is the movie that introduced me to Tarantino. And yeah, it's just like a teenage boy watching that, and you're fucking psyched. Like, oh my god, heads are blood, and the anime. And then I was also a huge weeb in high school. I was watching a buttload of anime back in the day. So those references, I was like, oh my god, that's like blah blah blah. And that's so I was like, it was a film that spoke to me at a time where it's like, you know, as a teenager, you're looking for that voice and that representation. So I was like, I got it. And then Once Upon a Time in Hollywood too is just. It also, that movie to me is like everything Tarantino has done in one film. So it kind of harkens back to like Reservoir Dogs of like just these cool characters and like the dialogue and everything in it. Because the movie, like that first half of the film is just like life. It's just like, here is this moment in time of these two characters just literally living their life. And then the later half of the movie kind of becomes almost like Inglourious Basterds, where it's like revisionist history, but it's also kind of like revenge in a sense. You know, because Tarantino kind of like rewriting history and getting revenge on those horrible people that did that horrible thing. So it's kind of everything Tarantino to me. So, oh man, I had to go with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Wow.
Sorry.
Boo.
Oh my god, Jeannine, we haven't agreed on anything yet. What does this mean? Dang it. I legit feel horrible, and I regret that all this was my idea. Okay. Moving on to round 3.
I am a little bit upset that Once Upon a Time did advance. Even though I picked it, I am a little bit upset.
Because you thought, oh, Kill Bill Volume 1 will be safe.
yeah. I was trying to create some drama, and I did not like it.
Here's the other thing about Kill Bill Volume 1 I didn't add on. Like, I like that film, but it's not a complete film. Like, Tarantino has always said Kill Bill 1 and 2 were meant to be one film, but he decided to make it into 2. Not to say that it's a bad film. It's just usually when you think Tarantino, for the most part, each film is this standalone, complete project. You know what I mean? Beginning, middle, and end. And like, Kill Bill doesn't really end because you know there's a second volume coming. So that also to me kind of knocks it, unfortunately. Not that I don't love the film, but it's just.
No, I get that.
So.
Yeah, you hate Kill Bill. Got it.
Yeah.
I feel. You know what? I hate Kill Bill. I hate. All right. Around our third match, Django Unchained against Reservoir Dogs, and I guess this time I'll start it because I've let you two start it. And this is honestly really hard for me. Like, I have an answer written down, but I don't know if I want that to be my answer. Because I legitimately love both of these films so much. Like, Reservoir Dogs being that's Tarantino's first film, and immediately, it's so rare for someone to have such a clear voice in anything they do. And Tarantino, right from the get-go, Reservoir Dogs is very clearly establishing what he is as a director and as a writer. And then Django, talk about revenge films. That movie is like probably one of the greatest revenge films of all time for me. That opening scene, and it's like it's so dour, and it's like they're walking in chains, and then Christoph Waltz comes, and like he's such a clever character, juxtaposed with how he was in Inglourious Basterds, where you fucking hated him. Like, I legit hated his character in Inglourious Basterds, and leave it to Tarantino to, like, next film you absolutely love Christopher Waltz, and he's still playing Germans in both films. So it's like everything about both of the, oh god. You know what? I'm sorry, I am gonna change it. I convinced myself to
you just talked yourself.
I originally had Reservoir Dogs because I was gonna make the argument of like it's his first film. Without it, we wouldn't have but you know what, dude? Legit, Django is Django Unchained for me. I love that film. It's fun, but not fun at all. You know what I mean? Like, it's weird because it's like he very much portrays slavery in that time in a very realistic and brutal way, to where it's like it's awful to watch. But then because of all of that, because of the ending with Jamie Foxx and like burning the house down and all that stuff, like it's such a like fuck yeah moment. It's like the end of it, it's messed up, right? But you feel good, like yeah, they got it. They got what's coming to them. And then, dude, have you ever seen Leo play a better villain ever in his career than in that film? Holy crap! That scene in the dinner table, right?
And he cut his hand for real, and he just kept going, like,
dude. And I love Reservoir Dogs. I love the cafe scene, and I love like when I forget the character's name and the actor's name, but when they're alone in the warehouse and he cuts off the ear of a guy, and it's just
and he's Steeler's wheel, and he's just
and then they reveal at the end that one of them was actually a cop, and like the guy who's been doing the crimes his whole life, like his instinct was wrong. Everything. I love Reservoir Dogs too, but yeah, I think in this instance I love Django just a little bit more, just because of the whole revenge aspect and like the way Tarantino played with that too, and like just watching racists get their upcomings is like delightful to see. I'm sorry. So it's Django for me. All right, I'm gonna let Brian go next, so that if we have another tiebreaker,
so I can deal with break it up this time.
Ruin friendships, yes.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really add any more than what you've already said about Django. Just the fact that he can kind of play with your emotions so easily, from like one sentence to the next, right? It's not even from one scene to the next scene. It's just within that same scene, you have like all these different emotions.
Yes.
That said, Reservoir Dogs, I mean, for it being his first film.
I'm sorry.
And I mean, so having the budget he had, it's like less than $2 million, and to make the film that he did is just, it speaks to his genius, right? And the way that he had to kind of manipulate his script and, you know, edit in a way where it would be interesting, having only like one or two locations to work with. I think it kind of sets up Tarantino to be, you know, who he is, who he wants to be, right, and who he's become.
Mm-hmm.
And the dialogue is just, it's amazing, right? You've mentioned before, like that opening scene in the diner, they're talking about who should tip, who shouldn't tip, or like
Madonna. Like
yeah. And then the first actual scene you see of the film is like, you know, the backseat of the car where he's bleeding out and he's just writhing in pain, and right, and just like these are the two extremes you're gonna get in this film, and you know exactly what you're gonna get for the rest, you know, of his rest of his career, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So I went with Reservoir Dogs on this one.
I can't be mad at that, because that was legit my original argument, but I'm into picking Django. Yes, but thankfully we got what I personally wanted, which is Jeannine now has to deal with breaking the tie.
So, Reservoir Dogs was actually the last Tarantino, aside from like Once Upon a Time, that was the last Tarantino movie I had seen before Once Upon a Time had come out. So I was late to Reservoir Dogs. Like you said, it's set up great, like the kind of filmmaker he turned out to be. Like his style is there, his way of telling a story in not like in an interesting order, the dialogue, all of that, the use of music, the kind of relatable conversations. So I loved all of that about Reservoir Dogs and that little bit of kind of deception that's always kind of in there. Django, I said I love comeuppance, and this is, like you said, the ultimate comeuppance. And we even get a lot of comedy in there, like the whole, Don Johnson and like all the, KKK and the holes in their masks. And that whole exchange is just hilarious. And like you said with Christoph Waltz, like you absolutely love him in this movie. And I love his integrity at the end where he's like, they could just go away happy. But because Leo is such a dick, he's like, no, I'm not going to shake your hand. And I love who he is. I love that character. I love his chemistry with Jamie Foxx. I love this version of revisionist history because, fuck all those people. So, I'm sorry. I got to go with Django.
Yay! Brian.
I'm not upset.
Dude, oh my God, yes, that KKK scene, and they're all just idiots. Like none of them are smart or good people. And then Christopher, you want to shake my hand? I want to go watch this film now.
I know, right?
It was so good. All right. This one's the one that I also had trouble with. Kill Bill Volume 2 and Inglourious Bastards. So I guess now we have to go back around, and Jeannine's going to start this one. So Jeannine,
okay, well,
good luck. The internet's counting on you.
I know. So, Inglourious Bastards obviously has, my manager, Sam Levine, in it. Another great revisionist history of terrible, terrible people. Also, the first time I ever saw my love, Michael Fassbender, in anything. So, I can't forget the first moment I saw him, in this movie. I liked the setup of all the different characters and their kind of individual missions to, make this plan happen. All the kind of deception that's happening, lots of tension, so much tension. That opening is really great and very tense. I really liked Inglourious Bastards. Also, though, Kill Bill Volume 2, I loved Kill Bill. I loved the continuation of the story. I loved the characters and their setup. I liked getting to kind of see her whole relationship with Bill and that, like, how everything that happened before the wedding. I liked all the characters. I liked the continuation of the story. So I'd have to go with Kill Bill Volume 2.
Wow. Just like that.
Yes, just like that.
All right. Well,
I'm going to go next then.
All right. Oh, no, I know why now. All right. Yeah, go for it. Fine.
Yeah. That's what, Kill Bill Volume 2. It's kind of a different movie than Volume 1, right? Just the pacing, the mood, it's a little bit different, and that's why I can appreciate it, because it's technically the same story, but it's not, right? And the character development you get in Kill Bill Volume 2 is a little more in depth, like you were mentioning, all that, the scene, all the stuff before the wedding, right? And then even the final fight between the bride and Bill, like, you don't really see hatred anymore, right? In the bride, you kind of, it's like a bittersweet, like I love you, but I have to kill. Yeah, and that's a whole different shift than Volume 1, because in Volume 1 you're like, he's like, that guy's a dick, we got to get him. and then towards the end of the whole series, that you do feel a little bad, but not really. And then Inglourious Bastard, you mentioned the opening scene. That's, to me, it's masterclass on tension building, right? And then the rest of the movie, it's just a lot of fun. But just based on that first opening scene, I'm going with Inglourious Bastards on this one.
Guys, why can't we agree on anything? Why can't we be friends? All right. I'm going to be completely honest, and if this gives me heat, I don't care. Inglourious Bastards to me is like the epitome of who Quentin Tarantino is. It's got the humor, the dialogue, the tension, the revisionist history, and it's also like, who writes better villains than Tarantino? Like, it has one of the greatest villains in it, in Christoph Waltz, in the Jew Hunter. And if I'm being perfectly honest, I've seen Kill Bill Volume 2. I don't remember it. I'm like right now trying, like, all the things you guys are talking about, I'm like, I don't remember any of that. And I'm just, it's dawning on my head, like, wow, that movie just didn't, like, I remember Kill Bill Volume 1 so vividly, but then 2, I don't remember.
Somebody gets their eye ripped out. You don't remember that?
Doesn't that happen? Yeah, I know, but it's like, I remember that black and white scene and the heads exploding, just blood. I remember, I'm sorry to bring up past traumas, Brian. I remember Lucy Liu, and you see her brain, she falls over. Like, I remember all of that, but like for Kill Bill Volume 1, I don't. Volume 2, I don't remember much. I'm sorry. So, I mean, I'm going with Inglourious Bastards.
Fair enough.
Wow, we legit not agreed. Like, there's not, maybe this one changes it. Pulp Fiction versus Jackie Brown. And I'm going to preface by saying this. Usually, when most fans talk about Quentin Tarantino, there's usually a clear winner for it. And I think we all know what that is, but I'm going to let Brian start us off with, who did you choose, Pulp Fiction or Jackie Brown?
I'm just going to say I went with Pulp Fiction. There's not much else I can say about Jackie Brown, but Pulp Fiction it's a great film, right? To me, it's a story of redemption, of Jules, right? Kind of coming to terms with who he's been in his life, then who he wants to be, and kind of redeeming himself and becoming a better person. And you kind of get a sense of like, that's a good idea because of Vincent's death, right? He's on the job, he gets shot, he dies, and if Jules was with him or was there in place of him, you would get a sense that he would have also died. Right? And so the fact that he decided to do something good with his life kind of tells you that this whole film, right, you've been watching these gangsters and you kind of like fall in love with who they are just because of the way that Tarantino uses dialogue and humanizing them. You're like, I want to hang out with them, right? But towards the end of the film, you figure out, no, like they're actually bad people, and you shouldn't want to be with them. And the fact that Jules got out and he gets to live sort of tells you that. And it's, I think, a lesson that you don't learn unless you're actually watching Pulp Fiction and then analyzing Pulp Fiction. And for that reason, I went with that as my choice.
Pulp Fiction?
Pulp Fiction, yeah.
All right. Jeannine, I'll give you the honors of making me do another tiebreaker, or making this one of the easiest ones for me. What did you choose between Jackie Brown and Pulp Fiction?
Definitely probably one of the easiest ones. Like I said, while I do enjoy Jackie Brown for its kind of homages and its style, and Pam Grier is always great. Like I said, the ending is kind of pretty anticlimactic. Like, it builds to like, oh my gosh, you're going to get this Tarantino ending, and then it kind of doesn't happen. Whereas Pulp Fiction, it has these great bookends, like this couple just having a conversation, and that turns into a bank robbery, and then that all kind of comes back at the end. I think the conversations are probably the best for me in this movie. They're so relatable. Like, you could be the person who got shot in the face, just like in the back, listening to the conversations, because they're so relatable and chill. I love Pulp Fiction. It's the first Tarantino movie I saw. So many memorable moments, so many great characters. Pulp Fiction, no brainer for me.
Thank God I chose Pulp Fiction too. Finally, something we can agree on. We're friends. Yay!
Hey.
All right. So I'm not going to show it yet, but right off the bat, my bracket's not that busted so far, and I'm very proud of that. What about you guys? Well, how was your first round?
Not too bad. Not too bad.
Brian, are you coming apart at the seams?
No, actually, not bad at all.
All right. Well, let's get through the nitty gritty. Let's start off round 2. Oh my God, Django Unchained against Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Wow. Anyone want to tackle this on first?
Yeah, I'll start because that's where my bracket got busted, basically.
Okay.
I had Reservoir Dogs advancing, and it obviously didn't. So I'm gonna have to think a little bit, but just based off what we've already talked about, I'm going with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Okay.
Yeah, just because, like I said, it kind of encompasses everything in Tarantino's career, and it's kind of like, I wouldn't say like his most perfect film, but it's pretty close to it.
Okay. Fair enough. Jeannine, what did you choose between Django Unchained and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
Well, this is where mine got busted as well, because I picked Kill Bill Volume 1. But yeah, I think if you're comparing the revisionist history kind of stories, I think I gotta go with Django still. I mean, I think the revenge of that just felt so much more, palpable and strong for me than in Once Upon a Time. And that's what I like. So.
Oh, God. All right. Damn it. I love these are like some of my, not forget Tarantino. This is some of my favorite films of all time. Like legit. And God, I'm just gonna say it. I went with Hollywood. I'm sorry.
Ooh.
No, I mean,
No.
I legitimately love Django, and I tried to take away my emotions a little bit out of it and try to really be subjective about it. And I don't think I'm doing a good job at all. I think I'm doing a horrible job, and I'm hurting a lot of feelings right now. But yeah, it's just just screw it. I just went with Hollywood. I don't have to explain. It's like by a hair, like legit. It's like the smallest of margins, but that one was probably my toughest one. The next one wasn't so tough for me personally, so I'll start it. Pulp Fiction versus Inglourious Bastards. I went with Inglourious Bastards. I know for a lot of people, Pulp Fiction tends to be their favorite film of Tarantino's, but to me, Inglourious Bastards was like not only like the epitome of who Tarantino was, it was like the culmination of his career to the point that the Academy recognized what he was doing and gave him the award for Best Picture, right? I think he won Best Picture for this one, or Best Director.
I think he won
screenplay.
Screenplay.
Best screenplay.
And Christoph Waltz won Best Supporting Actor.
Yes. Just the fact that even the Academy can be like, as silly as that ending can be perceived, they even went, this movie has merit. That screenplay is really good. The dialogue's really great. The revisionist history is kind of like something. Up to that point, me personally, I haven't seen much in like anything ever. And now we kind of see it all the time with like, movies and video games or what have you. And just the great villain of Christoph Waltz, and like the characters are all great. The bar scene, it's just the most intense game ever. And then the ending is so like brutal, but so satisfying when he just has like a close up of Hitler's face and you just see it slowly disintegrate as they just riddle him with bullets, and it's just the theater's burning, and it's like Quentin Tarantino saying essentially like, yeah, all these people are in hell, clearly, because there were horrible, horrible people, and it's just, and then the ending with like Brad Pitt and like him still cutting the Nazi symbol on his head, and it's like just everything about it was so great. So I went with Inglourious Bastards for Pulp Fiction versus Inglorious. So, did anyone else agree with me, or did somebody want to admit they're contrarian?
I guess I could go. So yes, I love Inglorious Bastards.
Oh no,
I do.
I know where it's going now.
That bar scene is definitely really good, very tense. So upsetting when Michael Fassbender does the wrong 3. It's very frustrating. But I feel like I have to be in a certain mood to watch Inglourious Bastards, whereas I can watch Pulp Fiction anytime. So I have to go with Pulp Fiction.
Of course.
It's just the embodiment of his style. It's just so smartly done. Yeah, Pulp Fiction.
I'll admit it. I wanted to be somewhat contrarian because everyone goes for Pulp, and I get it. So I was like, but for me,
I don't want to be like everyone else.
Yeah. I'm a rebel, guys. I have my own opinions. All right, Brian. Good luck. You got to break the tie.
Oh, okay.
Who's your best friend at the end of it?
So I rewatched Pulp Fiction last week, and there are some things that don't hold up in 2020. Like it's some of the things that movie says and does. Like it's a little bit shocking to see in 2020 after not having seen it for a long time. And for that, I'm gonna have to just go with Inglourious Bastards.
Just
because, so like there's some things that were in Pulp Fiction. You're like, I don't know if Tarantino is commenting on the fact that people were, for the lack of a better word, just really bad, right? Being like really racist at the time, or if he's just writing to the times, right? And kind of writing people for who they were. But it took me out of the movie a little bit, seeing it in 2020. And Inglourious Bastards, like, there's nothing in it that takes me out of it.
Because Nazis are always bad and always need to die. So
yeah.
that is something that doesn't change with the times.
Moral of the story.
Fair enough.
All right. Oh God. I legit feel kind of bad.
Just busting me up.
All right. So that means our final round. Oh gosh, Inglourious Bastards versus Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I don't know how to start this. So Brian, take it over real quick.
Oh no. Where to start? I'm just gonna say it. My pick for my bracket was Inglourious Bastards to win it all. So I'm just gonna go with that, I guess. I pick Inglourious Bastards.
Jeannine, I know we ruined your bracket.
Yes, you did. So trying to pick up the pieces here, like they're trying to pick up Marvin's brain in the back seat. Yeah, I think I might have to go with Inglourious Bastards as well. I think just the tension building is so good. And of course, my love, Michael Fassbender. And yeah, the Nazi killing is always epic.
So good. Yes.
And my manager's in it and he's great. So
all right. I chose Inglourious Bastards too. I chose it. I legit chose it to win it all. Oh man, I feel. But now I have slight regret because I'm just looking at Django and Django staring back at me like, "Mother bitch."
How dare you? He wouldn't shake your hand, David. He would shoot you. He would shoot you in your little lapel carnation.
There's no holes in my pillowcases, I swear. Yeah, all right. You guys ready to reveal your own bracket? So we have a winner. Our top film for Tarantino, and our opinion is the only opinion that matters on the internet, Inglourious Bastards. And it's mostly because, again, Jeannine's manager is in it. We've actually obligated to pick it. Sorry, Brian. Are you guys ready to reveal your brackets? All right, we'll go
There
with
we go.
Jeannine first because I feel like we really messed her up. So Jeannine,
You did mess up my bracket. I don't know if this is readable. So yes, I had, if you can see, so I had Hateful Eight and Jackie Brown. That moved on. So I had Pulp Fiction and Jackie Brown. Then I had Kill Bill Volume 2 and Inglourious Bastards. Then I had Kill Bill and Pulp Fiction moving forward. Then I had Django, Reservoir Dogs, and Once Upon a Time Kill Bill Volume 1, Django and Kill Bill moving forward. Then I had Pulp Fiction, Kill Bill Volume 2. Let's see. Then I had Pulp Fiction moving forward. I had Kill Bill Volume 1 moving forward. So it was Pulp and Kill Bill Volume 1 at the end for me. And Kill Bill taking it all because I love Kill Bill. So
nice.
strong female protagonist kicking ass and just like I said, covering so many cool genres. I thought it was just so smart. So I love Kill Bill.
Do you know what? That's fair, and I'm sorry we ruined everything for you.
I'm
Brian,
gonna go next. Where is it? Okay, so I had Jackie Brown winning, and then I had Pulp Fiction, Inglourious Bastards, Reservoir Dogs, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood going on. And then I had Inglourious Bastards and Reservoir Dogs, and that's where I got busted. And then Inglourious Bastards winning it all.
wow.
Yeah.
I guess that means I'm the winner because I only got one thing wrong, and that was the Jackie Brown. I originally had Hateful Eight, but then I had Inglourious Bastards. This is the one I changed when I convinced myself otherwise. I originally had Reservoir Dogs on it, but then I literally talked myself into choosing Django. And then I had Inglourious Bastards winning it all regardless, though. So that's my bracket. Yeah.
Good job.
Thank
Wow.
you.
So you pretty much had a perfect bracket.
Yes.
Except for the in play. But
Yeah.
pretty much I got. This is probably the only time it's going to happen. Let's be for real. I like that.
Yes, I got riddled with bullets, so Tarantino-esque. It's fine.
We're currently picking up the
Very
pieces.
on brand.
Yeah.
Both of you are on brain detail.
that it's like it's so weird, right? Because like if you would have asked me a few years ago, I maybe would have chosen Kill Bill Volume 1 with you, like legit. But like as the years go by and you revisit some of these films, like your taste just kind of changed too, right? It's like I always compare it to like when I was a kid, the first time I tried a beer, I literally threw up. And now it's like I love alcohol as an adult. It's so weird. Sugar, I hate sugar. And as a kid, that's like crack for you. Like, give me more sugar. So it's weird. So, all right. Any last thoughts or opinions on what we just did, guys? Are we still friends? Brian?
I'll be friends with Jeannine. I don't know about you.
Jeannine, we were war buddies.
Yes, we were besties at one time. You know?
Oh, it's like that.
Yeah. No. I can always see the argument in all of your choices because all these movies are great. So no ill will. It's fine. No revisionist history on our friendship. Okay.
I'm gonna expect a track on Monday.
Okay. Yes, I'm not gonna thank you. I thank him at the beginning of every episode of Machine Monday, so I might just not do it this week.
And as always, I want to say I hate you, David B. You terrible person.
Yes.
Might as well be playing a different theme to open up too.
Yeah, I will. I'm gonna find somebody else to bring me a better theme.
You know what? They're not gonna do as great as a job as me.
I'm sure I can find somebody. So yeah.
I mean, we can definitely find somebody. It's not
Wow. Okay.
Guys, this is legit. A lot of fun. This is exactly what I wanted. It was so heated. It was such a great time. And I hope, Jeannine, legit, thank you for joining us. Thank you for being our first guest officially on Speak Freely Pod. It was such an honor and a pleasure to have you, legitimately. Well, quick, I want to give you this time to plug whatever you want to plug and let the people know where they can find you and what you're up to.
All right. Thank you for having me. And you can find me at Jeannine The Bean on Twitter and Instagram. Check out the It's a Wonderful podcast feed. We have 3 shows over there. There's Machine Mondays with me every Monday, where I talk all things Schmodown. Every Wednesday, we have Morgan Hasn't Seen, where I force my co-host Morgan, who hasn't seen a lot of things, to watch things he hasn't seen. I pick a related franchise of films, a series of films that he's missed, and we watch and discuss. And then every Friday we have It's a Wonderful podcast, where we give love to those old classic movies. And also check out the It's a Wonderful podcast Patreon. We have fun stuff over there every Sunday. We do fun live streams with our patrons. You get monthly artwork. Morgan, he's in the UK, so he does some work with a UK football team, so you get some insight on that. You get to vote in polls, bonus content. So check out the It's a Wonderful Podcast Patreon on It's Wonderful One on patreon.com, or just search It's a Wonderful Podcast on Patreon.
Brilliant. And legit, guys, it's not just because she's my bestie and I'm trying to repair our friendship. I legit listen to Machine Mondays every Monday. It's a great insight. If you've never seen the movie Trivia Schmodown, first of all, why are you watching this podcast? Because there's a shill right here from the movie Trivia Schmodown. But she's a great competitor, and she has wonderful insight to the show, and I love that podcast. And a wonderful podcast, too, with your co-host, Morgan, and the way you guys talk about those films, too, is wonderful. I love that podcast feed so much.
Thank you.
Brian, real quick, where can the people find you?
On Twitter, Instagram at Kuno_stars. I don't really use Twitter, so just find me on Instagram.
You know what? I'm about to throw some shade at Brian. You know how much he doesn't use Twitter? He doesn't follow me on Twitter.
Wow, that's cold-blooded right there.
It's true. I don't use it at all, so don't even bother.
Yeah, don't even bother. And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at DavidBMusic21. You could also find me on Twitch. I finally made affiliate. Yes, son. Twitch.tv/DavidBMusic21. And of course, you can hear me on Schmodown and on Speak Freely. And of course, speaking of Speak Freely, you can find this podcast on most podcast feeds at Speak Freely Pod, also on Twitter and Instagram at Speak Freely Pod. If you haven't yet, please click that thumbs up button, give us a subscribe, and turn on those notification bells so that you can be up to date on this Filmtober March. Man, we'll come up with it later. We promise. And guys, that's going to be it for us. Thank you again so much to Jeannine for coming on. This was an absolute blast. Thank you for bearing with us as we figure out what the show is today. And that'll be it for us. That has been Speak Freely Pod.